Yo, what is up, guys? Ethan here, back in our video, and today we are with, we're not with anybody. I'm just with myself. But today we're gonna be talking about the Big Ten West predictions. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and also like the video. It would help me out a lot, and it only takes a few seconds of your time. So, this is the second part of my Big Ten week. Last video we talked over the Big Ten East predictions. And yeah, we had a few shockers in there, but the Big Ten West, let's just say it may not be as good as the Big Ten East, but on how I have it, let's just say there's probably more bowl qualifier teams in this division. So yeah, without any more interruptions, let's get straight into the Big Ten West predictions today. So the first team we have in today's episode, we have the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and I have them going 10-2 with a 7-2 conference record. The key wins will be home versus Michigan, at Wisconsin, home versus Purdue, and home versus BYU, as your key losses are going to be home versus Iowa and at Nebraska. I really like this team from Minnesota this year, and you return a lot of your offensive players. Even though you lose a 1,000-yard rusher in Rodney Smith and your best receiver in a long time in Tyler Johnson, this offense is definitely going to be the key point of Minnesota and probably the second best offense, actually maybe third besides Penn State and Ohio State. You have one of the best quarterbacks, in my personal opinion, the second best quarterback in the Big Ten in Tanner Morgan. As last year, he had over 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns as a sophomore, buddy. So, this guy is legit, and even though you lose your top receiver, you return your second best wide receiver, and actually, he's probably going to be a top 3 receiver in this upcoming draft, and he's probably one of my favorite players in the entire league, Rashard Bateman, as he had over 1,000 yards last year and 11 touchdowns as a sophomore. So this sophomore duo is going to be legit for this Minnesota team. But you also do return now a junior running back, Muhammad Ibrahim. His freshman year, he did have over 1,000 yards, but last year he only had 600 yards. But he's definitely going to have an improved roll-off this season. And also, you're looking at a dude that has to step up for this offense to replace Tyler Johnson. Chris Autman-Bell can very much be that, as he did have 371 yards, 5 touchdowns, and it was the third best receiver last year. But this main thing for this Minnesota team has got to be the defense. You lose a lot of your starters, and on what I've looked at least, your best returning starter will be Coney Durr, cornerback. So he's going to be a senior this year, and even though he only had one interception, yeah, just looking at it, this guy's not the best we have seen. And it just shows how this defense is going to be a huge impact for this team. And I can definitely see Minnesota doing worse this year. And this defense is going to be the key reason why this Minnesota team may not do well. But the schedule is definitely on their side this year, as Minnesota is known for choking. That's why I did the at Nebraska. At Nebraska, they have one of the most loyal fan bases in the entire nation, and it's also oh Jesus, I can't talk today. I'm sorry, but it's also towards the end of the year. Best case scenario for Minnesota, 11-1. If things were clicking like last year, this team can very much well be a New Year's Six team. I really like this Minnesota team. But if that defense if nobody steps up on the defense and nobody steps up to replace Tyler Johnson, this could be a very much 8-4 year for this Minnesota team. But I do think they go 10-2. PJ Fleck is one of the best one of the best head coaches in the entire nation. And yeah, I really like this Minnesota team this year. Now let's go on to the second best team in the Big Ten West. So the next team I have is the Wisconsin Badgers, as I have them going 9-3, and all their losses are going to be in conference. Your key wins are definitely going to be neutral site game versus Notre Dame, at Purdue, and home versus Appalachian State. But your key losses are going to be at Michigan, at the Big House, home versus Minnesota, and at Iowa. this Wisconsin team, I'll be honest, I really don't know that much about, but I did look into it. But your key player by far is definitely going to be Jack Cohn, quarterback. He returns for his senior year, and he had around over 2,500 yards and 18 passing touchdowns. But we really need to see how this offense works with the loss of superstar Jonathan Taylor. But you do have a great tight end in Jake Ferguson, probably one of the top 10 tight ends in the nation. And yeah, he did have over 400 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. So he's definitely going to be a key target for Cohn. But this main thing on this team is definitely going to be defense. You have superstar safety Eric Burrell coming back, as he did lead the team in interceptions. I don't know where it is, I'll be honest. I'm looking at I forgot to write it down. And also linebacker Jack Sanborn, as he did lead the team in sacks in 5.5. So this team is definitely going to be heavy on that defense. But is that offense going to be keeping up with this team? We just need to see how this wide receiver core and running game look. I think the defense by far is not the question unless they're just blowing huge leads, but offense definitely the key thing to look out for. For this Wisconsin team, I'm not going to say they have an easy schedule, but they have a schedule that definitely favors them. I think they can easily go 10-2 if you remove that home loss to Minnesota or at Iowa. My bad, but definitely can see this team going 10-2. But you can definitely lose that neutral site game at Notre Dame. You could lose at Purdue or Appalachian State. They're going to be a really good team this year with Zach Taylor. So that could even be a loss at home. This Wisconsin team has tons of questions, and they're going to have to figure those questions out pretty early this year if they want to have a good chance at winning the division. But like I said, this defense is definitely going to be the key to this team. And yeah, now let's go on to the third best team in the Big Ten West. So the third best team I have in the Big Ten West this year will be Iowa, as I have them going 8-4 with a 6-3 conference record. Your key wins are going to be at Minnesota and home versus Wisconsin, but besides those, all your tough games are definitely going to be L. You lose home versus Iowa State, at Ohio State, at Penn State, and also at Purdue. This Iowa team is going to be up and down this year, in my opinion, and this team, I really don't know what their final record is going to be. You do have a new starting quarterback in Spencer Petras, because last year's starting quarterback Nate Stanley is now in the NFL. But your offense is definitely going to be the key point in this team, which for the past 4 years it's definitely the defense. So this offense is definitely going to be a high expectation for this Iowa team this year. You have probably one of the best receiving corps in the entire Big Ten, as Emir Smith-Marset, Brandon Smith, and Tyrone Tracy Jr. are the top 3 receivers. And those 3 receivers by themselves is definitely going to be the key piece to this team. Another player that's key is Aldrick Jackson, offensive lineman from of course Iowa. You did lose your star in Tristan Wirfs, but even though Wirfs was fantastic, everyone forgot about the other side of him, Aldrick Jackson, as he was actually doing really well. So he's going to be returning back for his, I want to say, senior year now, and he's probably going to be a late first, early second round pick in this upcoming draft. Sophomore running back Tyler Goodson returns, as he was the team's leading rusher with 638 yards and 5 touchdowns. And this defense, like I said, it's definitely going to be the biggest question mark. Your 2 leading interception leaders in Riley Moss and Matt Hankins return. And Hankins is a senior, so yeah. So for this Iowa team, I have them right smack in the middle. If that defense does better than people think, and that offense will do as good as we think, 10-2 is easily up there. But if this defense does struggle a little bit, and occasionally that offense doesn't click with those receivers, I can definitely see this team going 7-5. It definitely has to. This defense is definitely going to be the key piece, just like Minnesota. This is basically a similar situation to Minnesota, but Minnesota has a way easier schedule and their offense is 2 times better. So this Iowa team could be deadly, but I have them right smack in the middle. Now let's go to the fourth best team in the Big Ten West. And the fourth team we have in the Big Ten West is going to be Purdue. And from after Iowa, there's actually going to be a big drop-off in this division. But I personally have Purdue right here. Your best wins are going to be home versus Iowa and home versus Air Force. But your key losses are going to be home versus Memphis, at Michigan, at Indiana, and also home versus Wisconsin. So this Purdue team, you have Jeff Brom as your head coach. And yeah, let's just say he should not be deserving of one of the highest paid coaches in the entire college football nation. But your wide receiver core is just lethal this year. And this team, you have two great receivers, two great edge rushers, and nothing else it seems like. You have one of the best receivers in the nation, Rondale Moore, as he did have, he did have 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was like in 3 games. He was hurt for the majority of last year, which made the second best receiver, David Bell, emerge as a star, as he had a little over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns for this offense. I also made a video like a week or two ago saying why Purdue has one of the best receiving corps duos in the nation, and it shows right here. But the key for this offense is definitely going to be that quarterback situation. We do not even know who the starting quarterback is going to be. According to many, and how I think it could be, I think Jack Plummer is going to be the starting quarterback this year for Purdue, but don't be surprised if Aiden O'Connell definitely gets that starting job. And then on your defense, I'm not going to say your 2 best defenders, but you have 2 great edge rushers returning this year. Freshman George Karlaftis, he returns for his sophomore year, and Derek Barnes is going to return this year for his, just a sec. Derek Barnes will be returning for his senior year this year. And yeah, both of them each had 7.5 sacks last year, and Purdue has actually done really good in the recruiting game, as you got 4-star wide receiver / tight end Malik Carr. You also got a 4-star quarterback, Michael Amalio. He could even get the starting job because that quarterback situation at Purdue is not going to be a fun one. And then also you got Tyreek Murphy, a running back. I'm not sure about the running backs for this Purdue team, but I really like this Purdue offense and those defensive key players. Even though Purdue has those superstar players, I'm not going to say superstar, but this Purdue team is either stars or trash. That's how this Purdue team is. There's nobody, for the past few years, there's nobody decent. They're either really good or just barely starters. That's how it's been. But for the best case scenario, I actually can see this Purdue team going 8-4 if that offense gets clicking, they find that quarterback, and their defense was good as last year. I can definitely see this team going 8-4. But worst case, it's just like last year. Last year they had a lot of injuries to that offense, and they went 4-8. But I can definitely see them making a bowl game this year, and I do think 4-8 is not going to be. I think the worst case is definitely going to be 5-7 this year for Purdue. And yeah, they lose, besides Memphis, all their losses are in conference. And yeah, so that is it for Purdue. And yeah, let's go on to the 5th, 6th, and 7th best teams in the Big Ten West. So we have the 5th, 7th, 5th, 6th, and 7th best teams. And yeah, that 4, 5, 6, and 7th spot, in my personal opinion, is going to be up for grabs this year. And the 5th best team in the Big Ten this year, I actually think is going to be Northwestern. Northwestern had a very disappointing year last year, as they did go on 3-9 after making the Big Ten championship game. It's just sad on how they fell so quickly. But yeah, you get a brand new quarterback in Peyton Ramsey, the transfer from Indiana, and your best player by far is going to be Patty Fisher, middle linebacker, as he returns for his senior year. Pat Fitzgerald is a really good head coach and one of the best in the Big Ten, and I think you go 6-6 with the 3-6 conference record. Your wins will be versus Tulane, Nebraska, Central Michigan, Maryland, Morgan State, and Illinois. All your wins are going to be at home. And like I said, your best player is probably going to be Patty Fisher this year. But your sixth best team is going to be Nebraska. And yes, they finally make a bowl game under Scott Frost this year. And it's definitely going to be a year for Scott Frost. He's probably going to be on the hot seat, let's be honest. You do lose your star wide receiver in Jetty Spielman, but who knows? I actually like this offense. My bad. You do return your best player on your team and your quarterback, Adrian Martinez, as he's coming in for his junior season. And I have them going 6-6 with a 3-6 conference record, just like Northwestern. Your wins will be home versus South Dakota State, Cincinnati, Central Michigan, Illinois, at Rutgers, and home versus Minnesota in an upset. I personally think Nebraska is a better team than Northwestern, but since in that matchup I have Northwestern winning, so Northwestern barely takes over that spot. And this Nebraska team, Derek Mills, he returns for his senior year. He had 10 rushing touchdowns last year, and I really like this team. And also, you return your cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt, as he had 3 interceptions last year. So, really like this Nebraska team, but Northwestern is technically above them. And the final team I have is going to be the Illinois Fighting, and Illinois, I don't even know how to say that, I'll be honest, I can't speak. But I have them going 5-7 with a 2-7 conference record, with their wins being versus Illinois State, versus UConn, versus Bowling Green, at Rutgers, and home versus Purdue. They made a bowl game last year and lost versus Cal in the Red Box Bowl, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but it actually was a Red Box Bowl, but I really like this Illinois team, but it's not going to be enough. Your best player is by far quarterback Brandon Peters, as he returns for his senior year. And Brandon Peters, besides Michael Penix, is probably the most underrated quarterback in the entire Big Ten, in my personal opinion. I really don't know that much about Illinois by itself, but Lovie Smith really hasn't done that much besides last year. 2017 they went 2-10, and then 2018 they went 4-8. Of course, everyone knows the iconic win versus Wisconsin last year, but I really can't see a win like that happening this year for Illinois. And yeah, if let's just say Illinois just wins a out of conference game, or just wins another game in general, all these teams in the Big Ten West could potentially make a bowl game. That's just crazy. That's how good these teams are, but I personally think Illinois is going to be the worst team in the Big Ten West this year. But at least they're better than Maryland, Michigan State, and Rutgers. So that is it for my Big Ten. That's all the records. Next video will be ranking the teams from 14 to 1. And yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, and like always, have a good day. Peace out.